Greetings, friends. I just had a thought. I had a hunch. I was listening. There was a guy I follow online, Justin Blue, and he had brought up a really great point. He said he kind of connected the dots between, how men and women relate to each other through their parents, and whether that is having a parent in a home or not. And so he said a woman's first love is her father, and a man's first love is his mother. And it kind of kicked up a question in me about, relationship dynamics, and if relationship dynamics. And I'll say this: it came a point where I remember thinking this in my head. Like, I remember growing up, and women would be like, "You ain't no man. You not no man. You ain't no man." And I'm like, and just to say that to whatever, right? And I always question, like, what is our standards? What standards do we have against? I don't want to say the opposite sex, because male and female don't oppose each other. God didn't create us to oppose each other. So I won't say opposite. The complementing sex. That's what I would say. But men and women. And so, like, I remember saying this in my heart. I was like, don't let a woman that never knew her father tell you ain't no good man. And I was like, some women, this ain't to dog women, this is men too. Sometimes we don't know good because we never had it. And our standard of what we think good is ain't. Sometimes people just say that just out of disrespect, really. But I think there's a longing, even as a man growing up with, like, the patchy relationship I did have, if I could call it that, with my own father, there's trauma that comes with just someone missing an element that is supposed to be inside of you, and only God, the Holy Spirit, can do that if somebody else fails you. But my question, what I was thinking was, like, if, like, men and women, are you raising your children to be something? If you are, to be something in reflection to, tethered to, based on, opposed to, reacting to something you have or have not seen in your life? Are you raising women? Are you raising your sons are you raising your sons on a maybe rolling trauma on something that you may or may not have ever known? Like, and I say, and the men, are you raising your daughters or sons out of the absence of someone proving something, kind of like driving that car on a flat tire, and so I think for women, men or women, to say, you're not this or you're not that, but maybe not having that person actively in your life. I kind of say that because, like, I know my women in my own family have gone through trauma, gone through pain at the hands of men, at the hands of women. And it's my job to change that. Not that please believe I am not no saint out here, or I'm a saint. I love Jesus, I love God, but I'm not perfect. And God is never asking us to be perfect. He's asking us to be faithful. So what I know and how I know to be faithful is to, with any woman around me, do my best to elevate the standard of what a man is, while that standard in me has been broken and is leaking in and of itself. And so being a good father, not really knowing what that looks like for me, being a good son, a husband, like, what does that mean? Not necessarily knowing it firsthand, but leaning on the Father, trusting the Holy Spirit to kind of help, not necessarily even patch holes, but build something where there's dry bones, if that makes sense. So again, my question is, how do we set our standard for something that we've never known? Again, for our daughters, for our sons, for our daughters, for our own mothers and our fathers. And sometimes I think we have the ability to change that, elevate that standard, but it also means that there's an inward look at what we think what our expectations of good men and women are. Sometimes we have to pull our own trauma off of that as a requirement. There's a such thing as toxic masculinity. There's a such thing as toxic femininity. There's a such thing as women that seek out, search out, and destroy men. There's a such thing as men who seek out, manipulate, and destroy women. And don't let that be corrupt, the standard of the image that we're supposed to bear. Even today, I was sitting down, I was eating somewhere, I was at Benedict's, Wayzata, and I just had this thought, I'm just throwing it out there, like, if God called women to love and men to respect, it takes a lot for a man. Women understand, recognize when a man stops respecting you. Recognize that. If God made birds to fly and horses to run and men to respect naturally, when a man stops respecting you, pay close attention. Something broke. And if God made women to love, pay attention when women stop loving you. What atrocity has to take place for a woman to not love, not be able to love, quit loving, forsake, or be in a relationship that she no longer can love, right? I think sometimes we ask questions like, how can somebody cheat in a relationship, or how can somebody abort their baby, or how can somebody forsake their children, or how can somebody beat their spouse, male and female, right? And I think when you see, that's the moral standard on which we view the world, that many people, God said he put his law in our hearts, but many people have failed that. And the reason why God has a standard for which we live by is because when that standard, it's almost a warning. It's almost, when people go rules. It's like a warning. Do this or there'll be a curse. And people kind of, I think, over spiritualize what a curse is. And I think you can see curses in the daily. I think you can just see it naturally of things happen to people because people have morally failed God and people in that standard, and therefore it creates a pattern of toxicity that it repeats itself through generations, and the enemy, spiritual forces, take advantage of it. And so you see women who go, I can abort my child, or you see women who I can, murder or cheat or steal. You see women as horrible as we see men, and then you see men who can't do any better, right? I'm not pulling any punches. I'm not singling anybody out. It's a us thing, and I think when you look at, somebody said religion or gossip goes, it's all about the what, but faith is why. Religion goes, the gossip goes, this happened, the what, and speaking about something and getting pleasure about what took place. That's like the news. That's like the world. It's skin deep. That's cosmetic. That's the beauty industry. That's sports. That's fashion. That's Hollywood. But the gospel, the spirit of the Father, looks at the why. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? I remember God, when Adam fell, he said, where are you? And he said, I ran because I was scared. Many people would look at Adam like, oh, the what is, you ate the fruit, now you naked, ha, ha, ha. You hid. But God wanted to know the why. And I think that's where mercy and grace comes. Not that the why exempts us from being righteous, but the why is God understanding. He knows us. He knows us. He knows us. Knows us better than we know ourselves. And with that, I just pray mercy over you to seek the Father's heart in those hard, dark, painful areas, because he knows the why while everybody else is buffering on the what. He knows the why while everybody else is buffering on the what. Now, there's one thing. Doctors can give you a why there's cancer, why there's bronchitis, why there's leukemia, why there's COVID. This is why this happened. God has the why, but he also is the solution for the why. He knows what happened. He knows why it happened. He knows what you did. He knows why you did it. But there's mercy, but then there's also a solution if you trust him. Seek ye first his kingdom, his righteousness, his glory, and all these things will be added unto you. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, past, present, or future, shall prosper. But every tongue that rises against you, he shall condemn. All right, you guys. Love you, friends.